وعلى آل سيدنا محمد. خل المقادير تمضي لا تغالبها، فإن من غالب الأقدار مغلوب. إن القضاء لسيف لا يقاومه شيء من الخلق إلا وهو محبوب. وامشي رويدا مع الأقدار في مهل، فإن من يكره الأقدار متعوب. سلم وفوض لحكم الله محتسبا، فإنما الأمر مقضي ومكتوب. والله يقضي بما شاء وكيف يشاء، والعبد عبد ومخلوق ومربوب. ولم يزل ربه الرحمن باللطف والحفظ محفوف ومصحوب. حسن ظنونك بالرب الكريم، ولا تسيء ظنا فتبقى عنه محجوب. واعمل لنفسك أعمالا تسر بها، فكل ما يفعل الإنسان محسوب. إن كان خيرا فخير سوف يحصده، أو كان شرا فتنكيل وتعذيب. يا ويل من ضيع الأعمار في زلل، وكل من كسبه الآثام والحوب. واطلب علوما مع إقبال مع عمل، فأنت بالعلم والأعمال مطلوب. واحذر زمانك هذا إنه زمن به المناكير شاعت والمعايب. فكن وحيدا فريدا خاملا حذرا، فإن فيه الأقاويل الأكاذيب. والظلم فاش بلا لوم ولا نكر، وللمساكين تخويف وترهيب. فكن لبيتك حلسا لا تفارقه، إلا لشيء له في الشرع تصويب. واذكر إلهك ذكرا دائما أبدا، فالذكر بالذكر مقرون ومصحوب. وذاكر الله يجالسه، فاجلس مع الله تأتيك المواهب. واطلب من الله ما تحتاج أجمعه، فالخير يا ذا لديه والمطالب. لا
العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Alhamdulillah, we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this opportunity for us to continue in our lessons in the Kitab Adab Sulukil Murid, likewise in Muqaddimah hadramiyyah. And we pray that Allah bless all of us, inshallah, with tawfiq and hidayah. And may Allah make this session a blessed one where our sins are forgiven, our prayers are answered. May Allah bless us. Husnul Khatima. Ameen. Ya Rabbal Alameen. So, inshallah, we'll straight away enter into our kitab. So, I believe we have covered chapter 15 last week, where Al-Imam Al-Haddad speaks about the importance of focusing on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not to be affected by other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So other than Allah, it can be in a form of wealth, it can be in a form of children, reputation. That's what he mentioned, that a mu'min should be careful so that he do not fall into the traps of the dunya and have this only inclinations towards other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. While not focusing on the attachment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is so many of the things that we covered in our last lesson. So now inshallah we will enter into the chapter 16, where he speaks about revelation and miracles. Revelation here is not speaking about revelation of prophets and messengers, but it is speaking about mukashafa. This is a term within tasawwuf, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lifts the veil of a believer. When a person has yaqeen to Allah, and a person has taqwa to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah mentioned in the Quran, wattaqullah wa yu'allimukumullah. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, have God consciousness, and those who have God consciousness, Allah will teach him from the knowledge that he does not know. So there are forms of knowledge that we cannot get from books, but we can get through obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When a person obeys Allah, Allah will bless him with this knowledge. So there is such thing where we mention as ilham, as a form of inspiration, and as a form of lifting the veil, that a person is able to see things which other people does not see. So this is the term as mukashafa. So mukashafa is basically the removing of the veil, that when a person is able to see something that is extraordinary, due to the fact that he has got consciousness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And likewise, when a person is close to Allah, when he constantly engage in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will bless him with miracles. And we find all these things are mentioned in the Quran. Allah speaks in the Quran about inspiration that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave. For example, Allah gave inspiration to the mother of Musa alayhi salam. Allah said, وَإِذْ أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى أُمِّكَ مَا أَوْحَيْنَا. When we inspired your mother, O Musa alayhi salam. So the mother of Musa alayhi salam is certainly not a prophet or messenger, because she is a woman. One of the conditions that a person can be a prophet or messenger if he is a man. This is a this is a condition, and there are explanations to it. One of it is that because prophets and messengers are sent by Allah to reach to the people. So this requires a certain kind of level of patience, a certain kind of strength to endure when a person is facing his people. So no prophets and messengers are females, but the mother of Musa alayhi salam received inspiration from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is the inspiration that Allah gave to the mother of Musa alayhi salam? It is the convincement that one day the child will return to her. She knows that the child will return to her. So that is why she is brave enough to put the child in the chest and put it on the river, as she is convinced that one day the child will come to her. She is convinced that the child will come to her. So this is in the form of inspiration. Allah used the word wahyu, Because the word wahyu in the Arabic language is to tell something to another person secretly, to tell something to another person in a way that nobody else knows. In the Quran also Allah say awhayna ila nahli, that we gave wahyu to the an-nahl. Wahyu here meaning inspiration. Anittakhidhi minal jibali buyutan, that you make your houses in the mountains. So this is a form of inspiration that Allah inspire even animals and insects. So now we see for example animals and insects they are able to know certain things, the coming of winter, the coming of summer. They know how to make preparation, and the place they choose for what you call it, their houses and so on. Where do they get this knowledge? It is a form of inspiration from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So before we read the words of Imam al-Haddad, I will just like to explain the term, what is the meaning of mukashafa, what is the meaning of karama. Because nowadays there are people who are confused and who thought mukashafa is something that a person can see the unseen. And then people say that how can a person knows the unseen, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned nobody knows the unseen except Allah. But they forget there is another verse that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned nobody can see the unseen except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and those whom Allah liman irtada, that Allah pleases. So there are people whom Allah bless them that they are able to know the unseen. That they are able to know the unseen. This is by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what is important for us to understand that nobody knows the unseen except Allah. But there are prophets and messengers and saints whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them with this knowledge, that they are able to know what happens in the future. And of course there are many examples, and so many of those scholars live in our time and are witnessed by people around them. So it is important for us to understand so many of these what you call it, misconceptions that is occurring. Likewise pertaining to the miracles of the saints. There are people nowadays they say that how can we believe in the miracles of the saint? All this are nonsense and so on and so forth. Na'udzubillah min dhalik. We should know as Muslims that it is part of our iman to believe in karamatul awliya, to believe in the miracles of the saints, because Allah mentioned in the Quran. Allah speaks about Ashabul Kahfi, how they slept for 300 plus years. Allah speaks about Maryam. Maryam is not a prophet, but she received food from the time summer food and in time of winter fruits and in time of summer. And when she was asked by Nabi Zakaria alayhi salam, Anna laki hada ya Maryam, where do you get ya Maryam, Anna laki hada, where do you get this food? He said, Huwa min indillah. It comes direct from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How does she know this? How does she get these miracles? It is because of her piety to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and of course she is chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his obedience. And likewise the coming of Nabi Isa alayhi salam, she was pregnant without the male intervention. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught us that it is Allah has the ability and power to create human beings without any male intervention. So this is mukhalifun lil aada. In aqidah we say the definition of miracles is khariqun lil aada, that it go against the norm. It go against the norm. The norm is that people, a woman become pregnant by male intervention by the insertion of sperm, by the formation of the zygote and the clot of blood and everything that is mentioned. But in the case of Maryam alayhi salam, she broke the norm. None of this happened, and she became pregnant. So this is karama. So karama if it comes from non-prophets and messengers. But if it comes miracles that are from prophets and messengers, they are known to be mu'jizah. So just like we say it is compulsory for a believer to believe in mu'jizah, it is also compulsory for a believer to believe in karama. That is why if you study the books of Aqidah, for example Aqidah Bahiyah, the author speaks about, and it is compulsory upon every Muslim to believe karama, for the awliya, for the saints of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Imam Al-Haddad and is began and it is by speaking and about another aspect, and he is not focusing any on the definition. I chose any to explain the definition, but here Al-Imam Al-Haddad is speaking any about the subject and in the aspect of spirituality. So there are certain dangers. There are certain dangers any that a person and he has to be careful when he is in the path and as a seeker to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. What is any the danger? Do not make the karama to be your objective in the obedience of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Do not obey Allah Subhanahu wa Taala just to get karama, because any there are people any when they heard any about the miracles any of the saints, and they became intrigued, they became amazed, and so on and so forth. So what happened next any was they wanted to be like them. So they start obeying Allah, they start to remember Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. But what is any the objective of their ibadah? Their objective any is karamah. So this is also the thing any that a person obey Allah to attain ghayrullah, yani to attain other than Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. So what is any important any for us any is to focus that our obedience any is only to Allah, not to other than Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. So this is any the training. This is any the training any that we always any have to remind any ourselves that I pray lillah, I fast lillah, not any because any of karama, not because any of imitation. What you call it, to attain the praises of people or reputation. That's what and he mentioned in chapter 15. So he said one of the most harmful things to the seeker is his asking of revelations and kashf. So kashf and is a form of miracle, in a way that the veil and is being removed, that the person and is being any is able any to see the unseen. And for example, so many of the unseen. Let me give you an example, and some of you might be wondering, if you're first time and hearing this, some of you might be wondering what is it yani this mukashafa. So let me give you an example any from the book Al-Isaba, written by Al-Imam Ibn Hajar, when he speaks any about Sayyidina Umar Al-Khattab. Sayyidina Umar Al-Khattab, and he is Khulafa Rashidin, one amongst any the Khulafa Rashidin, a companion of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Sahabiyun. So he was giving any khutbah in Medina, and then while doing a khutbah he stopped and he shouted, Ya Sariya al-Jabal, Ya Sariya al-Jabal, Ya Sariya al-Jabal. Because yani Sariya is a name of a person, the leader of an army. So Sayyidina Umar Al-Khattab is telling her, Ya Sariya, there's enemy behind the mountain. Ya Sariya, there's enemy behind the mountain. Where is any Sariya? Sariya is in Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan, you know, all of us know where is Azerbaijan, and it is basically in Central Asia. So imagine Sayyidina Umar Al-Khattab is able to see Allah remove this veil, that his eyes is able to see the unseen, miles, thousands of miles away from Medina. He is able to see that the enemies are hiding behind the mountain to attack the Muslim army. So he's saying Ya Sariya, the enemies are at the back of the mountain. So Sariya heard the voice of Sayyidina Khattab. This is another form of miracle. The voice, how can the voice of a person in Medina reach Azerbaijan, what you call it, without any microphone? Even any microphone today with the latest technology, if a person shout that kind of distance, you cannot hear the voice. But Sayyidina Al-Khattab, when he shouted Ya Sariya al-Jabal, Ya Sariya al-Jabal, he knew that the voice will reach. So this is a miracle. This is first thing, and it is mukashafa. He is able to see miles away. The second thing, of course, all this are miracles that Allah bless His servants. So this is an example. So Al-Imam Al-Haddad mentioned it is harmful for the seeker to ask Allah for mukashafa. Why? Because mukashafa in its nature is given. It is a gift from Allah. Allah gives these miracles and these inspirations to whomever He wants. So do not ask any for it, because that is not the objective in ibadah. That is not the objective in that. So do not fall in the trap of shaitan. Shaitan tries to delude us into other things, so that we can lose our focus into Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. So this is what he's saying. Asking mukashafa, he's longing for it, like miracles, karama, wanting to have karama. For example, there are people, for example, they pray and they fast so that they are able to fly. For example, they want to experience flying. They want to experience for example, certain any acts and so on, or became any invisible and so on. So these are the things any that you know when people any lose any their focus and start any to focus any on all these things, then any it can become a fitna, because so many of these people and keep on speaking about miracles, keep on speaking about miracles, and their objectives and is that they want to make zikr to get that, they want to pray this and to fast any for 40 days and for example and to get any this particular miracle. So this becomes any a confusion any for the common people any into thinking that is this any a sign any that the person any is close any to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala any doing any all these things. So people any became any confused, and the confusion any can only any be understood any if we understand some any of these concepts any or guidelines for the seeker any to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We pray that Allah bless us any with tawfiq and hidayah. Because any of time any we have to stop here. Inshallah ta'ala next week any will continue from here. Now any we will enter into our next book. So we are still in the chapter yani on the conditions any of the validity of prayer. So let us any begin any from here. All these things any we mentioned last week. Last week any we spoke any about the covering of the aurah. The covering. Last thing any we covered any was the covering of the aurah. So we mentioned any that for men in prayers, the aurah yani is anything between any the navel and to the knee, including a navel and knee. Likewise any for the slave woman. Likewise for the slave woman. As for the woman, normal woman, free woman, the aurah yani is the whole body except in the face and the hands. So this is basically what he mentioned. Wala yajibu satru min asfal. This is the last thing in which I stopped in the last week. So he said that it is not any compulsory any to cover our bodies any from below. So if a person any is wearing jubbah any for example and kain sarung, and he is standing any for example on the third floor, at the third floor, so a person in the first floor can see the hips. The person any from the first floor and can see any the hips, and it is haram any to peep any at people's any aurah. But if the person is praying and if for example is the prayer valid, yes, any prayer is valid. Because why? Because you are seeing from below. You are seeing any from below, so it doesn't count. It is valid. Unless any if a person any sees any from on top or from the side. So when it comes any from the side, last week also I mentioned any about the Malay telekong. Because Malay telekong any if it is short, there is a possibility any when a woman for example does any the ruku, it can be seen from the side. For example, the elbows, if the elbows any is exposed, the hand any is exposed, the aurah can be seen from behind or from the side. Then only it will not any be valid. But if she's using the Malay telekong any which is very long, that is below the waist area for example, then inshallah yani the prayer yani will be valid. And we should not yani make difficult any for people. This any another thing any I find sometimes any in like in Malaysia, in Indonesia, you know, they start any talking any about things yani that is not any important. Wallahi, things any that is not any important. Yani you are making things any difficult for the common people. Yani it is better any to speak any about any khushu any in prayers, or even any to explain any certain any things any properly. But if you start any to speak any about very delicate any issues and very subtle any issues, and then it cause any confusion, and then people any start any to contemplate about how the years any that they have been praying, and now it is not valid, but actually you know it is a misunderstanding. You see, I believe any that people any who are teaching any fiqh any they should any also any be careful any not to speak any about things any that can confuse any people, and things any that are not any really important. So we have any to explain any certain things any properly, and if there is any difference, and we also have to look any at the kind any of khilaf. If this is any a minor difference where majority any of the ulama any do not speak any about this, you have any maybe 2 or 3 people any speaking, yani certain opinions any we cannot surface it any to the public. But if discussions any amongst any the scholars for example, that is okay. We can we can discuss any to the things, to the little things. But when it comes any to the common people any sometimes any it can be a reason any of confusion. I remember any before COVID, any 3 years ago, someone the video became viral. Someone and is saying that if you cook curry and then the curry spills any on your shirt, you cannot perform any prayers because there are traces any of blood any in the curry that is not forgiven. You know, they speak any about all these things, and then it becomes any an issue. So all these things any we say, what you call it, it should not any surface any in the first place. We should not any make things any difficult any for. We should not any make things any difficult any for people. So these are some any of the examples. But of course, unless any if a person any wears shirt or wears any jubba and so on and so forth, and you can see the aurah from the side. For example, any if the cloth any is torn or the cloth any is short, as in the Malay telekong as what we mentioned, is short in a way that when she does any the ruku, you know that the thing about Malay telekong, if it is short, and if she does any the ruku, because I think what is meant any by some of our ulama, even any in books any of fiqh, when she does any the ruku, what happens any, a person from the back can see the elbows. So now this is also important. I need to take note, and in the sense that we are saying what is important for her is not to wear a telekong any that is short, a telekong any that is short. But you know what I meant any earlier that caused any the confusion any is that despite a person any wearing long telekong, you know there are people now are saying that you cannot wear Malay telekong at all. Now this becomes any a problem. For people who have been praying any for so many years and they are using any Malay telekong any in Singapore, in Malaysia and so that cannot be true. That statement any cannot any be true, and we have any to explain any clearly any what is meant is if the aurah any can be seen any from the side when she is doing the ruku, for example, or when she is doing any the sujud, any the elbow is exposed, for example, then only any the prayer becomes invalidated. But if not, the prayer any is valid, any no matter what you call any the telekong, whether it is a Malay telekong or a Chinese any telekong. So now we go on into the next one. وَيَجُوزُ سَتْرُ بَعْضِ الْعَوْرَةِ بِيَدِهِ. It is permissible any to cover part any of the aurah of his hand. And for example, if he knows any that the hips area there is a hole in the cloth, the aurah can be seen. So all the while any in prayer any he use any his hand any to cover. But he cannot leave any the hand all the way. Because why? Once he leave the hand, the aurah will be exposed and the prayer becomes invalidated. So he cover any all the way. That is permissible. Using the hands. فَإِنْ وَجَدَ مَا يَكْفِي سَوْأَتَيْهِ تَعَيَّنَ لَهُمَا. If a person any cannot find anything any to cover the aurah, then to cover the whole aurah, he has any to give any preference to the saw'atain. Saw'atain any basically the front aurah and the back aurah. So if a person is in jungle, for example, and there is no clothes, so he should any take any some efforts any to take any some any of the leaves any, for example, at least any cover the front part and the back part, or take any the mud and cover yani the aurah, so that any the color of the skin any cannot be seen. This also we mentioned in last week, that one of the meanings any of covering of the aurah any is making sure that the color of skin any is not seen. فَإِنْ وَجَدَ مَا يَكْفِي سَوْأَتَيْهِ تَعَيَّنَ لَهُمَا أَوْ أَحَدَهُمَا فَيُقَدِّمُ قُبُلَهُ. If it's only any one case anywhere, a person and he has only something and need to cover either one, the front and the back, which one is more important? The front. Why? Because then you are facing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so the front and is more important than the back. Then he mentioned وَيُزِرُ قَمِيصَهُ أَوْ يَشُدُّ وَسَطَهُ إِنْ كَانَتْ عَوْرَتُهُ تَظْهَرُ مِنْهُ فِي رُكُوعٍ أَوْ غَيْرِهِ. Now this is any important. Sometimes any a person and is praying and the collar is very big. Imagine, the collar is very big. So when he does any the ruku, a person and from the front and he can see the aurah, that is the navel and below the navel. So in this instance, and what does he do? What he can do yani is he can sew the collar and to make it tighter to such an extent when he does the ruku, none of the aurah can be seen from the front. Tamam? Or yani he use his hand. He use his hand and to cover, so that when he does any the ruku, the aurah cannot be exposed. Now, so either yani he sew yani the collar, or he use a cloth to tie his body above the navel, so that and when he does the ruku, it is not seen. You know, in Sana'a in Yemen, it is their tradition that they put a cloth in the center. This is the Yemeni tradition. They put a cloth in the center of the jubba. So if you see Yemenis, they will wear a full jubba, the full qamis, and then they will put a cloth in between. Sometimes it's like a big belt, and then they have a dagger. So one of the wisdom of wearing this kind of clothing is in prayer, so that when you do your ruku, and when especially your aurah will not be exposed from the front. Aywa. So I hope it is clear, inshallah. Now when we go on to the condition number 9, is syartu tasi' istiqbalul qiblati, facing the qibla, illa fi salati shiddatil khawf. So it is compulsory as a Muslim, and when we pray we have to face the qibla. And what is meant by the qibla here is Kaaba. But there are certain instances that it is not compulsory for you to face the qibla. Illa fi salati shiddatil khawf. Shiddatul khawf, the prayer of shiddatul khawf, is when a person, for example, is in a war field, is in the battlefield, that the enemy is facing you. So this is called shiddatul khawf. In this instant, it is not compulsory for you to face the qibla. So you can face wherever you want, because you are in the battlefield fighting the enemy, as well as you are performing your prayers. Because battlefield in a battle, timing is not fixed. Sometimes a battle can take place from morning till night non-stop. Non-stop meaning constantly the enemy is somewhere trying to kill you. So you have to hide, you have to run, sometimes you have to walk, you have to crawl, and so on. So it is not conducive that in a battlefield that you perform your prayers just like as normal time and you be killed. So what you do, while you are crawling, while you are walking, and you can perform the Zuhur prayers, for example. The Zuhur prayers has come. Okay, perform any Zuhur prayers. Do the takbir, and if you can face the qibla, you face the qibla while takbir, and if not, you perform your prayers, and your prayers is valid. So this is called salat shiddatul khawf. So there is no facing of the qibla. The second situation where it is not compulsory to face the qibla is fi naflis safaril mubah, for the traveling. When a person is a traveler, safar al mubah. Safar al mubah meaning it is not a travel that is travel of maksiyah. There is no sin in that traveling. Meaning you are not gambling, for example, you are not going to a place to gamble or na'uzubillah min zalik, to commit any maksiyah. If your intention to travel is an intention which is halal, which is permitted by the Sharia, this is called safar al mubah. And this kind of traveling, not necessarily it is a long travel, must be more than 2 marhala. Even a short travel, meaning after you left your country, for example, you can perform the sunnah prayers not facing the qibla. So here the author is speaking about only sunnah prayers. Remember this, not fard prayers, sunnah prayers. So for example, while you are traveling, for example, if you are musafir, you go out of your country, and then while taking a bus or taking a plane or taking a car, you want to pray duha, for example, and you have wudu, you want to pray the duha prayers. So you can perform the duha prayers, and it is not compulsory for you to face the qibla except in the time of takbir. Except in the time of takbir. Now this is in a case where it is possible for you to do it. But if not, you can perform your prayers, and you face where the vehicle brings you. So because you are inside the vehicle, if you are in a plane or you are in a a ship, and so on and so forth, you can perform your prayers without facing the qibla. فَإِنْ كَانَ فِي مَرْقَدٍ أَوْ فِي سَفِينَةٍ أَتَمَّ رُكُوعَهُ وَسُجُودَهُ وَاسْتَقْبَلَ. But if a person is praying on a vehicle where he can pray standing and ruku and sujud normally, like nowadays, for example, you take the ship which is very big, so you can perform your prayers normally, then it's wajib for you to do so. Likewise, nowadays, when we take aeroplanes, certain aeroplanes like Saudi, they have this musalla at the back. So you can perform your prayers at the musalla now, and it becomes compulsory for you to pray while standing and doing your ruku, because now you have the ability to do so. Just like when you are on the ship, or you are on the what you call it, on a big any vehicle, for example. Like nowadays, like some buses, they have places that you can pray. Then you have to perform your prayers as per normal. Wa illam yakun fi maqadin, but if it is not possible to do so, like for example, you take a plane that is a budget plane, you have to pray while sitting down, correct or not? And you cannot be praying while standing up, and there is no space. Like you take Jetstar, for example, just an example. So this is what you call it, you can perform your prayers while you are sitting down. This is what the author mentioned. If you are not in a place anywhere, it's possible to perform the prayers. Like marqad is a place anywhere a person can stand, a place anywhere a person can sleep. So last time they have this type of caravan where a person wallahu a'lam, a person can stand and can do the ruku' and can what you call it, do the sujud, and when the animal stops, just like khawdaj. Last time camels they have this like big thing on top of the camel, where people can perform the prayers. But if a person is not in that situation, wala fi safinatin, not on the big ship, fa in kana rakiban, if a person is riding, istaqbala fi ihramihi faqat, so he face the qibla just in the takbiratul ihram, in sahula alayhi, if facing the qibla during the takbiratul ihram is easy for him, then it is compulsory upon him to face the qibla. For example, when we are performing we want to perform our prayers in the car when we are traveling. So if we know the qibla, for example, and we can face the qibla during the takbiratul ihram, so we face the qibla during takbiratul ihram, Allahu Akbar, and then we perform our prayers focusing in front, because that is the place where the car is bringing us. So this becomes the qibla for us. This becomes the qibla for us. I hope it is clear, inshallah. So here basically the author is saying that if a person does not have the ability to face the qibla, it is not wajib for him to face the qibla. If he is able to face the qibla in takbir, wajib for him to face the qibla in takbir. If it is not possible, then not necessary that he face the qibla. While riding, he can perform his prayers. And then he mentioned wa tariquhu qiblatuhu, his the path that he is taking, is his qibla. Fi baqi salatihi, the whole of his prayers. Wa yumi'u rakibu bi ruku'ihi wa sujudihi akthar. So a person when he is praying while sitting down, he does ima, when he is doing his ruku', he bows down. When he is doing his sujud, he bows down further. So this is called ima. This is called al-ima. So this is how we pray when we are sitting down. When we are sitting down, when we are riding, when we are taking the car, when we are in the aeroplane. How do you do a ruku' a sujud? By bending your body. So when comes to the ruku', we bend our body, and the best is to make sure that our forehead goes above our knees. And then when we want to perform the sujud, we bend further down. So this is called al-ima. So the author mentioned that from ruku' and sujud, it is compulsory that we do this ima. Wa in kana mashiyan istaqbala fil ihram wal ruku' was sujud wal julus baina sajdatain. But if a person is walking, then it is only compulsory in ihram, number 1. Number 2, when he is doing ruku'. Number 3, when he is doing the sujud. Number 4, when he is sitting in between two sujud. Other than that, he can walk while praying. He can walk while praying. Wallahu a'lam bis-sawab. Inshallah, we will continue in our next lesson, where the author mentioned wa man salla fil ka'bati. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adhaban nar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillah.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Ya Rabbi salli alayhi wa sallim. في حب سيدنا